possible careers for, mental health professionals in India. Now, I really want to begin with, there's a study from WHO which shows that 1 in every 5 or 6 human beings will have a mental health challenge, looking at the pandemic and the unprecedented times. And there is a lack of 300% of psychologists around, mental health professionals, which includes counselors, clinical psychologists, psychiatrists, and other mental health social workers. So we have to understand that we shouldn't be thinking that I study psychology, what is going to happen? This is the only career in last 10 years, in 1 decade, which has had 22% of growth. There's no other such career, not in mathematics, not in medicine, not in English literature, but it is in psychology. And to be honest with you all, when I studied psychology, when I did my graduation in psychology, it was not something I wanted to become a psychologist, but I just did it. It was one of the subjects I was asked to choose, and I chose, psychology, journalism, and women's studies I'll study. But it was only in the second year, I got so fascinated. I was like, wow, this tells me a lot about myself. Forget about the people around me. So that's how it changes your life. So I want to tell you that if you're somebody who's trying to pursue a career in psychology and you think there is no career, not at all. Child psychology is becoming really important. Every school has to hire a child psychologist. A lot of psychologists reach out to me and they say that we don't have a job. And if there is a job, it doesn't pay much. But I really want to tell you all, no, it is not the truth. Psychology jobs should, because there's a lack. There's not many professionals are out there, and it is becoming compulsory. It is becoming compulsory that people have to have a psychologist in organizations, industries, corporates, colleges, schools. You just have to choose your option wisely. Now, does this, the psychology, does it mean that you will just be dealing with mental health disorders? Right? A lot of people have this, they don't know the challenge and disorder. They feel schizophrenia is also a disorder, and anxiety is also a disorder, and having difficulty in your marriage is also a disorder. No, having difficulty in your marriage or basic anxiety, what we all have, that is just a challenge. And disorder is a clinical diagnosed disorder. So if you think that, okay, I don't want to get into clinical psychology, then what else can I do? Well, there are lots of options out there. You can be one among the HR personalities in corporates. You can be one among the industries. You can be a rehabilitation officer. You can be anything. Psychology has various branches. It is just that you have to ask yourself that, what do I want to do? It's very important to know that and see what your interest is. Okay, then there's a question is, what is the scope of neuropsychology in India? Huge. You can become a researcher, researching about new illnesses, new therapies, new ways of looking at it. You can also work with a psychiatrist. You can also work with a neurologist. That is the beauty of it. You don't just have to stick with a psychiatrist. You can also work with a neurologist, because in India or all over, neurologists do see a lot of cases, right? So you can work with them. You can become a professor. You can teach. You can go, if you don't want to become active in, as a counselor, as a therapist, as a professor, you can start assisting people, managing rehabilitation places. So there's a huge scope for neuropsychology. You just have to figure it out, that which college do you want to go, what options do they have. But yes, it is there. Okay, then another, what is your opinion doing masters for psychology abroad? Okay, so, I have a master's from India, and last year I was applying for masters from abroad. I'll be very, very honest with you. I will not say that it does not mean anything. It does. The exposure is completely different. I have done few internships from Glasgow, from Scotland. I've assisted few psychiatrists and psychologists there. It's totally on another level. The way they look at it is absolutely okay. But because of the pandemic, I wasn't able to go for a master's, which would have been a double master's. They offered me online, and I didn't want to do online because it will not just do the justice I would want to do in the field, looking at people, studying their behavior, helping them resolve their issues. So I did not go. So yes, it is. But at the same time, I really want to tell you this, that our culture makes it, culture really makes a difference in your therapy. For example, I being the North Indian, I have a lot of idea about how North Indian people live, work, talk, slangs, right? But I really have to pay a lot of attention and do more researches when I see clients from other countries or when I see clients from my own country, from other parts of India. So it does make a lot of difference. So yes, doesn't matter if you do masters from abroad, you should still take a lot of internships and assist a lot of psychiatrists and psychologists in India so that you have that grip on it when you're talking to people. The most important thing about therapy is that the client has to connect with you. If they don't connect with you and you cannot connect with them, the therapy goes for a toss. There was a time when I did my studies, it was a rule that your client should not know anything about you. They should not know, are you married? Are you single? Where do you live? What do you do? Nothing should be out there. But now the approach is changing. I changed my approach long back because I found that useful. But now, in fact, in the colleges, they say, okay, fine, give the information which can help them. So it is changing. So I guess it's very important, even if you're thinking about doing it from abroad, you will have to do a lot of internships and assist a lot of people in India as well to get do the groundwork, legwork. It's very important. But I won't lie to you. In India, still, we are given a lot of theory, but abroad it's totally different because I have studied in parts and bits from abroad. It's totally different over there. Yeah. Okay, so if you have any more questions, you can definitely ask me here. Until then, I can really talk about, okay, I have a question. Do you think it is equally important to learn about the practical side of psychology as much as the theoretical part? Oh, totally. I'm so with you on this because it is, you cannot talk to a client in a theoretical language which you have studied in your college. No, you just have to keep it very plain. And my clients find it like, as a practitioner, my clients find it very easy to connect with me because I talk their language. I make them understand in their language what I want to. I don't label people. I don't put them in boxes that, oh, you have narcissistic characteristics. No, I might know. I would just, put it in a very plain language for them. So it's very important to have that first-hand practical knowledge. And this was among the very good things when I offered internships in my studio in physical premises. Students used to find it very different from other places. They were like, ma'am, in other places, it's more about theory. What have you studied? That's what we are applying. But here it is completely a different thing. So I guess, yes, it's practical is totally different and you need to pay attention. If I'm a counselor, just imagine I'm a therapist and you're my client and I'm talking to you and I'm doing like this again and again. Now, what am I doing? What I'm doing is that I'm distracting the client. I might also trigger some memory. That is the reason that you have to be very calm, composed, not with a very big smile, not with a sad face. And all that happens in practicals. Until and unless you don't do that, until and unless you don't see your seniors working. I have learned from so many people. And I don't feel ashamed of it. I still take internships because I still want to go out there and see what is new in the market. How are the students taught? I learn from them. So yes. Okay.
So ma'am, there's another question on the group. What is the scope of positive psychology in India?
Okay. I find this very fascinating. So maybe before pandemic, people wouldn't listen to you about it. and they wouldn't agree with you if you have studied positive psychology. You say, you are not a psychologist. What is this? You're asking people to do a walking meditation and doing colors or changing their way how they talk. Just give me a second. Just a second.
Sure, ma'am. Till then, guys, if you have any more questions, please put it on the chat box and we'll get them answered.
Sorry. So, but now it is totally changed. Through positive psychology, you can work with people who have chronic illnesses. You don't have to diagnose, you don't have to change their emotional behavior, but at the same time, because of the positive psychology, you're changing their outlook about life. Automatically, the emotions change. Through positive psychology, you can work with kids. Through positive psychology, I had a huge clientele in my studio who were autistic spectrum. And we used to do a lot of positive psychology things with them. So I guess, it is not about any field of psychology is going to be very, very crucial. This pandemic might get over, but it is going to leave a big scar. And not everybody, people think if you visit a psychiatrist, you are given medicines. Not every psychiatrist gives you medicine. Not everybody needs medication. So then what are you going to do? Positive psychology comes in play. And it is for people who do not want to, also like for people who do not want to deal with chronic mental health disorders, serious mental health disorders. Okay, fine.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very simple and it is easy and it keeps you up and about more than anybody else. Like, okay, fine, your client might know, but you're like, oh, wow. So yeah, it is like that. So positive psychology is going to be, and anybody can study it. It's not that you need any background, so and so. Anybody can study it. Anybody can go ahead with it. Yes.
Okay. So the next question is, Shreya is asking, which types of psychologists in India is lacking? And which are the psychologists that we need in future at the moment in India?
Which type of psychologists are we lacking? We are lacking all kinds of psychologists. We're lacking all kinds of psychologists. Recently I was very, I won't say disappointed because that's what I expect here. A psychologist sent me a message and it did not sound that she was asking me to do it. It sounded like she was ordering me to do it. Now, coming it from a psychologist, I would not expect that. And she's doing her MPhil. And I was really like, how would she be talking to clients?
Mm-hmm.
She knows I'm from her profession. I might analyze it more than anybody else. And then I edited it for her. I said, no offenses. I have edited this. How about you share this message with others? Mm-hmm. So, you really have to. And she said, I'm so sorry, ma'am. I'm not good in communication like this. Now, okay, that's what you have to train for. So we lack every kind of psychologist here. It's not that, this and this clinical nahi hai, counseling nahi hai, mental health professional. No, we are in like, there's a dearth. We need to have more and more people trained, experienced, working with people. But guys, please, one thing I really want to tell you all is, do not get into practice unless and until you don't work on yourself. It is a very fragile field. Your one word can make or break someone's life. So be very careful what you talk to the client, what you put in their head. So please be very careful about it. I remember I was assisting in a psychiatry hospital, and there was a case of schizophrenia. So I told the younger sister, I was also very young, so I didn't know better. So I told the little sister, I said, listen, in her head, everything is really very real. So she can make you do things which you will not even be able to imagine. She can convince you, and she has an influence on you. And the next thing goes that the little sister goes and tells her sister, the therapist told me this. And it became a very big thing in the hospital. And then I realized that I was not supposed to do that. That's how you learn. You make mistakes, you learn. But the good thing about it, I was assisting somebody. There was somebody superior than me to handle the situation. And the person went, handled the situation, and I learned from it. So don't just dive there. Okay, now my degree is complete. I have MSc, I have MA, I have MPhil. Now I'm going to go there. Don't do that. It's very important. Yes.
Right. So Zosha is asking, why do you think people take mental health problems as stigma or something which is not real? Though it's changing in recent times, but there's the stigma still there.
Well, I'm talking about mental health, dude. We are still not accepted as females here completely. So it's a huge journey. It's a long journey. I guess we have come to a like really good place, and I guess movies, media has really exaggerated it. For example, if I remember Tere Naam movie, Salman Khan has PTSD, and how they have shown the mental asylum. It is not a place anybody would want to go. And schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, these all things were considered demonic until like just I guess 5-7 years back. It was very superstitious thing. So I guess because of the kind of image we have given to it, stigmatized, that you are not in your control and you can do anything. But it is changing. Then there are movies like Bhool Bhulaiya. Akshay Kumar really changed the image of it. So I guess we have come a long way. At the age of 21, I'm 33 now. Oh yes, I turned 34 yesterday. So yeah, 34. So 21 to 34, I have seen a change, a graceful change. I will not give credit only to pandemic, but when I started, I was looking for a counselor for myself because I was going through depression. I used to travel from Faridabad to Gurgaon. I don't know how many of you are aware of the distance. And that time there's a one smooth road now, it hardly takes 40 minutes. Those days it used to take 1.5 hours. I used to come all the way to see the therapist. We shifted to Gurgaon because of the medical reasons. But now look at it. You throw a stone, you find a therapist. So it is not difficult. I guess, the stigma is there. And if you really want to help to end the stigma, you talk about it, forget about others. You say that, yeah, I was upset and it's okay to be upset. Yeah, I went to therapy. How many of you are talking about your own therapy? No, we take the therapy, then we don't talk about it. We don't tell anyone that you should also go for therapy. Kisi ko pata na chale. So I guess forget about the world. You talk about it and let's see how it goes.
So along those lines, again, there's a question related to it. What factors or practices can keep us mentally healthy?
Okay. First of all, I guess very important 3 things which I always ask people to do is your physical workout. Your physical workout is very important. It makes you release feel-good hormones. You might feel these endorphins, these things are not so important. But guys, to get good sleep, to get good appetite, to have a fresh mind, it's very important, the release of these hormones. Then serotonin again is a very important hormone which gets released like this. And dopamine is something which is caused because of empathy, helping people, feeling useful. So you need to be kind to yourself and others. Having social connections. Second would be having social connections. It's very important. We think that now we have technology. Why is it so important? But you have to understand that. Listen, 2 things very important. One, I always feel that it is my own responsibility to take care of myself. Nobody else should. And if I need it, I will ask help, but I should not be expecting someone else to take care of me. Number. But the most important thing is, I was born from a human being, from a womb. So much of physical touch. Then, if I am breastfed, I have healthier emotional and physical health. If I'm not, if I'm hugged, cuddled, I have more warmth. Just imagine from that how much important it is for us to be around other human beings. So have social connections. Third, I will say drink water. We always focus on our physical body by eating right, by doing this and that. But you should know how physical food is food for our physical body. Water is food for our brain. So the brain fog, memory issues, yaad nahi rehta hai, I feel like they went by, pata nahi chala kaise gaya. All that is because we are not hydrating our brain enough. So drink enough water, which is good for. And the plus point is you will get good acne-free skin and all that stuff.
All right. Yeah, that was really insightful. These are the things that we could, apply in our life all the time, but we are just not doing it. And these are
In this, you
simple
don't
things.
need
Yeah.
anybody else to do anything for
Yeah,
you. Water you can drink, exercise you can do, people you can
absolutely.
connect with. You're not dependent on anyone. But we don't do
Mm-hmm.
it. Apart from that, if you have been having if you had a difficult childhood, troubled child, and irrespective of that, irrespective of anything else, I always tell people, yeah, like we clean our houses every day on everyday basis, but we still on Diwali and Eid we do the deep cleaning. We open the almiras, we under the bed. The same way, there's nothing wrong in seeing a therapist even if you are not facing a bigger issue. Go
Mm-hmm.
have a chat. We get the annual medical checkups done every year. But do you get the mental checkups done? What is wrong in that? Do it. So yeah.
Okay, so we are slightly, taking a different route now from mental health. Anonymous attendee is asking what are the courses we can do to study law and psychology together, and are they helpful?
What together? Psychology and
Law and psychology.
law and psychology. There are branches in psychology. Criminal psychology. We can go in
Mm-hmm.
criminal psychology, and we can forensic psychology, and all these things are there. So I guess if you study law, then you can definitely do your psychology also. I don't know much about the kind of combination courses there would be, but you can definitely have psychology along with it, or you can do masters in it. So there definitely are courses. I have a friend. She's right now working with forensic department. So then I have a friend who is working with a criminal lawyer. So there
Mm-hmm.
definitely are like combinations, and you can definitely get into sort of find out MIT. MIT do have good for our courses. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, so there are a few questions. I'm going to sum it up. After doing your master's, how do you pursue psychology? Like, are there any internships that we could take up? If yes, where should we look for? And if we want to do it abroad, internship, but in India, so are there any online internships available? Because especially during such times, during pandemic, the world has opened up. So yeah.
Pandemic, everything is online. For example, I also take interns, but I will only take 3 interns at a time. I don't have a very big team right now because of the offline system. But before we used to take 17 interns at the same time. But yeah, now it is reduced to 3. But there are people like me who, if you want, you can check with Dr. Anjuman. Dr. Anjuman is a psychologist who is very renowned in the field. You can check with Fortis Hospital. They also provide a lot of internships online. Only the sad thing what I find with other people is they charge you for internships, which I don't
Right.
find like because I don't charge people. So I don't find it like a good thing. But I know if they are giving you a lot of time, they also need to make some money out of it. So it's a bit of investment, but there are lots and lots of mental health internships. Uh, as a psychologist, like if you're a budding psychologist, if you're a mental health advocate, I mean, a lot of people are starting these mental health advocate pages and are trying to help society. But I really want to tell them also, have you any, experience in it? Have you assisted somebody? Do
Mm-hmm.
you know actually what to talk? I'm not saying because you would be giving wrong information out there, but I'm saying it is going to impact your emotional health. I have been trained for now, like I've been working as a practitioner for last 8 years, but I got myself trained for 6 years first before I dived in. Otherwise, the client would tell me, "Meri health kharab, meri bhi health kharab." The client would start crying. I would start crying before her.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I'm not crying there, the client is gone, and I'll be like, "I know, मेरे भी partner ने ऐसा ही बोला था." So it's very important that it is not I'm asking you to stop your things, what you are doing because you're doing anything wrong. No, we need it. But have you gotten yourself trained? Have you gotten yourself clean? Are you working with a therapist on your own? Are you working on yourself? Then only go in it. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there are lots and lots of internships out there online. And I guess Fortis is the big name right now. Dr. Samir Parekh is there. I really
Yes.
appreciate him. And he provides a lots and lots of internships.
All right. So Ashi is asking, what is the difference in neurology and clinical psychology?
Okay. Neurology and clinical psychology, I would say, you do masters in both, clinical and neuro if you want to go to. Now, neurology, as I said, it also gives you an upper hand to work with a neurologist because you are more about, nervous system and all. And clinical psychology, you can do the psychometric test, psychotherapy, and you can work with any kind of psychiatrist. You don't have to have like proper, no, I just have to work with a neuropsychiatrist.
Mhm.
But if there is a neuropsychiatrist, it's a branch. So if you work with them, you have a better hold on it. For example, I don't take cases from neuropsychiatrist because I don't feel comfortable. I have not studied a lot about it. I don't take clinical cases also. I take very light clinical cases because I'm not a clinical psychology person. I studied it, but not really good in it. So you need to understand that are you good in it? Have you trained yourself in it? And the career options are amazing. Somewhere people are thinking there aren't options, but there are options. There are lots and lots of options. And Abhi, I am so surprised. I was just going through this one article, and they said that now, child psychology, the kind of things are going there, family psychology, and then couple psychology. Lots and lots of people are taking those courses, and universities are introducing those courses. So yeah, you just need to understand that if you want to work with a neuropsychiatrist, neurologist, then you can go into the neuro field.
Right. Okay, so the next question is slightly personal. So anonymous attendee says, I personally have social anxiety and communication skills are a weak point for him or her. But psychology really fascinates me, and the idea of helping people in this area really fascinates me. Do you think that can be worked on, and would it be a good idea to try being a therapist? Or are there other fields in psychology that would be better suited?
Okay, you have an example here who has had suicide ideations. I have tried to kill myself 3 times in my life. Fortunately, I did not die. I have had clinical depression. I have been on medication for 8 months for my depression. I have gone through therapy for years and years. I still have a therapist, but does it impact me anyway in my career, in my life? Not a single client can tell me that I make any wrong, I provide any kind of wrong therapy to them because I worked on myself. So if you think social anxiety is there and you know you lack communication skills, it could be such a beautiful thing. You can tell tomorrow that, this is what I was, and now this is what I am, and I'm there to help people. But at the same time, if you're not comfortable talking to people, you don't want to go out there, we all have personalities. You can choose research. You can still do PhD, you can do MPhil, you can be a researcher, you can help with researches, finding new therapies, finding new cases. There are not every therapist is the face of the therapy. There are certain therapists, for example, in my team, I have 2 people who do only analysis. They don't want to interact with clients. And they tell me, ma'am, we make so many mistakes. If we talk to the client, we're not comfortable. Okay, I can't force them. So there are lots of things you can. But first, try to work on yourself. I'm sure you will be able to overcome it.
Right. Okay. Another question is, what all is the need to become a child psychologist? And what is the best approach if you want to become a child psychologist? What is the process?
Masters is you do masters in counseling psychology, choose a branch of child psychology, and study about it, and definitely then assist couple of child psychologists. Dr. Riddhi Joshi is a very good child psychologist in India. You can talk to her. Dr. Neeta Shah is there. She's not doctor, but Neeta Shah is there. So yeah, there are a number of child psychologists who are working right now in the field, have a graduation, do masters in counseling psychology, choose a field, do MPhil. Yes.
So, what are the traits that a psychologist should have to pursue this career or develop?
When you start BA or BSc or whatever you are doing, when you start with that, you might not have those traits. But the important thing is you can always develop them. That is first having clarity with yourself, because if you don't have clarity with yourself, you'll have very poor boundaries. You will have a lot of emotional baggage, and you would not know where to navigate it, how to navigate it. it's very important that you work on yourself. Number one would be that your emotional side should be stable, clarity should be there. Second, your physical health. It's very important to work on your physical health. For example, I live with a medical condition. I have a chronic illness called cystic fibrosis, which makes me cough quite often. So, but I make sure that at least, it shouldn't be so much that there is a session happening and coughing and it's disturbing my client. So I make sure that, okay, fine, either it's a light session when that time period is there, but I work through it. I work around it. I don't take sessions in the early morning because that time I am coughing. So you will just have to figure out how your physical health is, because if your posture is poor, if you're continuously shaking your leg, if you're, doing it, if you are nervous, then it is not like something a client would be comfortable with. Third thing, most important, is the communication. How are you talking? And you don't understand anything, ask it. Be the stupid person in the room. Ask questions. Sometimes people use, like English is not my mother tongue. My mother tongue is like, Kashmiri, but never lived in Kashmir. So we started speaking Hindi, Urdu, Pashto, Kashmiri all together. And by the age I was 20, I was good in nothing. I didn't have super command on any language. I'll mix things. I'll speak Hindi, English, Urdu, Pashto all together. So it would be a mess. But my clients might not be comfortable with that. So I need to have a command on a language. And if you don't understand anything, ask it. You do not understand a fancy word, it's okay. And just tell them, I'm so sorry, I didn't get it. Can you explain it to me? What does it mean to you? For example, now we have this thing that, okay, psychologists, we understand people, we can read their behavior, we can, just look at their face and tell what are they going to know. It is a wrong thing, it's a wrong ideation. You cannot, until and unless a person does not talk to you, you cannot understand what they are going through, number one. Number two, I was talking to this client and I asked her, and again, in my early days, and I have made so many mistakes in my life, in my career. So I asked her, she was like, it was green color and I wasn't comfortable. I was like, oh my God, green is nature, green is forest. Why were you not comfortable? She looked at me and she said, green means hospitals for me. Because she spent her childhood in hospitals, green curtains, green bed sheet. You see the difference? So don't assume, you don't know, you're the stupid person in the room. Ask questions. Green, okay, what does green signify for you? Anger, okay, and what does this mean? Like, how do you get angry? What do you do? Don't think, okay, angry and this. No, some people are quiet. So be the stupid room. Have the patience to listen. And very active listening. Just listen to them. Do nothing else. Don't try to assume, oh, yes, ho sakta. No, nothing ho sakta. Only wo ho sakta what the client is telling you. So active listening ke liye bhi physical health is very important, because if you are not physically active, physically healthy, you're like falling, you are doing this, you're like, changing your postures. It's very important. Your physical, your mental, your communication skills. These are three things I always tell people, work on these three areas.
All right. So Zoya is asking, would you suggest that if they are pursuing a general BA in psychology or BA honors in psychology to become a clinical psychologist, which one is preferable, a regular BA or BA in honors?
I don't think so that makes any difference as long as you have psychology as a subject.
Okay. So another question is, along with the degree, should we also do short courses related to psychology? Would that be of any help to us?
Any
or
help,
should we do
any help? I guess great help. Along with my degrees, to be honest with you, my degrees might. I'm not saying that degrees are not helpful. Degrees are definitely helpful because you need these certificates and all. But when I studied psychology, it was not really very practical for me. But the other courses like positive psychology, taking separate CBT, working as a hypnosis, getting trained myself in yoga, meditations, and all that. That really helped me understand. And Indians, we are more of like holistic people. That one thing, just do this thing. No, we have to understand that our culture. We're very spiritual people here. So combination of things really helps you. And if you understand different therapies, it gets very easy.
Right. So Aarti is asking, for neuropsychologist, is a science background necessary?
Yes, absolutely. So BSc has to be there.
All right. Another question Geeta is asking, how to build a career as a mental health psychologist and psychotherapist.
I guess the psychotherapist and psychologist is not much of like there's not much of a difference, but psychotherapist is right now a better word for it. And initially we were saying, and psychologists earlier we were not called as psychologists when you just did MA. You had to do minimum MPhil, but now it is changed. If you have done MA in psychology and you are called counseling psychologist, and that is one of the reasons I don't use psychologist next to my thing, because I'm still old school. I feel I haven't done MPhil, I haven't done PhD, so I'm not a psychologist. I'm just a mental health therapist, and I provide more of therapy than counseling advices. So that is something I believe in. So psychotherapist is like somebody who has studied psychology and is working right now as a therapist, not as a counselor. Counselor and counseling involves a lot of advising, telling you, navigating you, finding things from you, and then asking you, okay, fine, how about you do this and that? Therapy is more of you give a lot of homework. How about you work through this? You do the art therapy, you do positive psychology, all of it, and CBT and all.
All right. Just a second. Is it natural to feel nervous every time you see your therapist?
Well, I guess if it is every time, then there is something your therapist is not making it go away. But there are times, like I just had a session before this, and that client is working with me for the last 3 months. And today he had a session, accordingly, he's in another country. So for him, it was 11:30, and for me, it was like 12:30. And he said that he has been awake since 6. He has been anxious about today's session. But I totally understand, because last time when we left the session, I told him, next session, we are going to talk about your childhood with your mother. So he was anxious about it, what's going to happen, what is going to come out. So I totally understand that. But if you are nervous every time, then maybe you should talk to a therapist and say that, I don't feel very comfortable. There might be something. There are days when you are nervous and you are anxious because big revelations are happening. But not every day.
Right. Spreha is asking, I have done my bachelor's in philosophy, but want to pursue psychology ahead. So should I do master's in psychology or applied psychology or clinical psychology?
It's quite confusing for me also. So I wouldn't know much about it, but I guess you can go for any psychology, and you just have to understand that what are you interested. Check the subjects, check the topics. Before you apply for any kind of a psychology course, there's always a syllabus they share with you. There's a PDF they share with you that these are going to be your topics and subjects. So just see if it interests you. Do a little bit of research about it. That is something I really would want to do. For example, I was very clear I didn't want to go in the clinical area. I didn't want to work in a psychiatrist setup, or I didn't want to. Those days, people reaching out directly was very difficult, and either a psychiatrist would have recommended clients to me, or I would have to do a job, and I was not comfortable with both. So I went into counseling. I was like, okay, fine, this is something I want to do. So maybe just go through that syllabus and the subjects and make your own choice.
All right. So Khushi Jha is also asking a similar question. Since there are so many upcoming subfields in psychology, how can we decide which field suits us the best?
Because that's what I just said, that do a research and see what suits you better. And at the same time, I would still say the same thing. Before getting into this kind of a profession, work on yourself and see what is your ability and what is not. That's where there are career counselors. That's where there are other counselors who help you understand what your capability is. There are tests. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But at the same time, just don't think that I have gone through so much of mental health issues, so I want to help people. Please don't do that. That does not work sometimes. It keeps you triggering all the time what you have gone through. So don't do that just because you are an empath. because if you are making it a career, it's then about your bread and butter also. So it shouldn't be that 2 days you're able to do therapy and 6 days you're falling sick, because your mental health definitely takes a toll on your physical health. It's very important. So do it because you want to do it and you can do it. Your profession should always be your passion, and that should give you money and afford the kind of lifestyle you want. Don't compromise in that.
All right. Raja Lakshmi is asking, ma'am, I'm a BSc psychology student and I really want to do my master's abroad. But most of the universities that I saw offer MA is instead of MSc. So is there any problems in taking MA instead of MSc?
I guess the number one thing, you will have to understand what you want to do, number one. And number two, I wouldn't say that there are universities who are only offering MA, because as I did mention that I was wanting to do my second master's from abroad, and I was looking for MA and I was getting a lot of MSc. So maybe it's like what we are looking, we are not getting that, we're getting something else. But there are lots of amazing consultants who will help you with getting what you want. And since you have a background in science, it would be amazing to go with MSc.
All right. Ma'am, do you have any book suggestions or any sites that the attendees could go to get more information? No?
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I will have something with my team because I have interns and other psychologists working for me. I can ask them, but I would lie if I just say something here. I only know about Fisher's book. Other than that, I don't open anything else. It's been a long year.
All right. So if we want to do research in our bachelor's itself, or what should we do? What is there a process that we should follow?
I guess talk to your university, talk to your college you're studying from, and there definitely are research departments. And if they do take bachelor students, yes, there is a way. Apart from that, sometimes PhD students also take assistants, and if you do have a background in psychology, they would love your help. That could be something you can do along. But first, go to your college, go to your university, ask them if they have a option. Otherwise, you can always get in touch with PhD researchers and they will give you options.
All right. What is needed in order to work as a psychologist or any other type of psychologist to work outside of India for someone who has done his bachelor's or master's in India?
Okay, I guess there's an exam. There's an exam. Different countries have different format. There is an exam. You will have to do that. You will have to clear that. But as I said, maybe in India, we don't take it in account that I do my master's from abroad and I come and I start working with Indian clients, whereas the culture and everything is very different. Abroad, they take that into account. For example, I am authorized to work as a hypnotherapist in UK, but still, when I go there with my academy, I will still have to attend their courses, understand their regional thing, and then only work with people.
Right.
Yeah, so there is always an exam, but in India we don't have.
Okay. Zosha Khan is asking, does having more different credentials in psychology help in getting a more accurate and stable job as a psychologist?
See, if we do have that, that is a plus point. More credentials means more a plus point for us. But I think, as I said, because of pandemic, people are going to have more and more openings in companies, in schools, in colleges, in organizations. So I guess if you're good at your work, which is practical work, they don't need your theory. They don't need you to define what disease is. They just want you to understand, okay, these are your symptoms, you are going through this. I don't remember in recently have a labeled somebody or told somebody that you have bipolar disorder. If they came with a diagnosis, okay, they have already gone to psychiatrist or clinical psychologist, got a diagnosis. I tell them okay, but even in my counsel, I ask them, drop it. Let's work on the symptoms. Let's work on the root cause. Drop the label. Let's not call you a bipolar. That is like, then you will be rest of the life will be bipolar. It is a reversible thing in most of the cases. So I guess it is more about your practical knowledge, how you working. So do a lot of internships before you go for the job. So those recommendations will help.
Okay. So another question by Mannat is, what is the scope of industrial and organizational psychology in India? When can we expect IO psychologists to be a vital part of industries in India?
I don't know much about that. When can we do that? But definitely, I guess it is growing and it is going to come very soon. As I said, I'm the stupidest person in the room. I behave like that. So the questions I don't know answer. I'm so sorry. I'm not giving answers. I don't want to say anything wrong and guide you wrong.
All right. So there's another question. Which type of psychologist will get more scope in future?
It is counseling. It is counseling psychologist. Clinical people are still doing, and clinical cases still psychiatrists take them under them. Right, when a clinical case comes, most of the psychiatrists do the counseling on their own. They are good at that. But counseling, not everybody would want to go to the doctor. It is what I have realized. Not everybody would want to go to the doctor and get on meds and get diagnosed, but everybody is going to have an emotional scar. So I guess in counseling, family counseling is amazing. I have been seeing a lot of couples. So marriage counseling is going to be very hit. And the best thing about marriage counseling, there are going to be pre-marriage counselors now. So which we are really, really advocating for, creating an awareness, asking couples, take counseling before you get married. Because couples are coming to us after 2 years, 3 years, that I don't want to be with the person. So yeah. So I guess it's more of a counseling.
All right. Another question by Feza is, do we need a PhD degree for clinical psychology?
If you want to get called as a doctor, you will have to. And if you want to get into deeper researches and all, you will have to. But otherwise, MSc or MPhil is absolutely all right.
Okay. If we pursue our education in a field apart from psychology, say life science, but want to do field work in psychology, even if it's part-time or through internship, is that a possibility? If yes, how can we do that?
Well, then that is called social worker, mental health social worker. You are trained, the NGO or the organization you connect with. There are lots of NGOs who do hire people who have a little bit of background of science and all, and or maybe arts also. It's not only limited to science, arts, commerce, all these things, and they train them in particular areas, and then they work as a social worker in mental health. Yes, we definitely can just get in touch with some NGO who's doing this work, and we can get it.
Right. Another question that I basically understand is, if you do a master's, a regular master's, which has a specialization in the second year, how is that different from only doing a master in a specialized field?
I did not understand. Sorry.
Okay. So the question is, what is the difference if we do MA psychology or MA in specialization degree like counseling or clinical? Is there any benefit of doing specialization?
Yes, definitely. Then you have a clarity. And you definitely have a clarity. What do I want to get into rather than a general? Like, for example, long back, there was only BA. There was no BA honors in so and so. But now, when you have this honors in so and so, very clear that this is what I want. I want to go for literature. I want to go for science. I want to go for this. So you're very clear what do you want. So that's how the MA in psychology gives you a clarity. But I am not very much sure in India. We do have a lot of colleges who give this differentiation. They teach you like in 1 year they will teach you counseling and in 1 year clinical. But yeah, you can definitely do it.
All right. Okay, so Shreya says she is a school student and she wants to start studying psychology as early as possible. So how can she prepare for psychology along with school studies?
Okay, Shreya, all I want to tell you is that enjoy your time now. You will have lots to study in future, but all I want you to do is enjoy, just be yourself, learn how to express yourself, learn some art, learn some form of expression. It can be dance, it can be anything. Just enjoy right now. And if you still are like, no, I really want to do it, maybe start reading like books, watch series, and just get that hold. And when you are there, you will definitely get it.
All right. So Kushi asks, which foreign countries accept 3 years graduates from India?
We are going to career counseling now. I know as such, but masters के लिए मुझे पता है. Like I was trying in UK, they did have 1 year masters, but at the same time the psychotherapy thing I was wanting, it was for 3 years, but it was not full time. It was like on weekends and all that thing, so it was not full time. In USA it is 2 years. Yeah, something like that, but that will come under career counseling. I'm so sorry. If you had told me I have to prepare all this, I would have done some research. But I had no idea this will be something which will be asked.
All right.